kindergartners. I'm so excited. I can hardly wait to come today. Last week when I was here, I got to see your Lucy writing time. That's what you call it, right? Mrs. Hanson said Lucy writing. Yeah, Lucy writing. And so today, I was really excited to get here, to be here to help with Lucy writing. And I was pretty amazed at your writing last week because I noticed that you were writing about yourselves and you were writing a lot of information. You were trying to stretch those sentences as you were stretching words and stretching sentences. And when you do that, when writers do that, you're really building your stamina to be able to write. You were stapling pages in your books and writing all of those details. And who was it that was writing about, wasn't it like snowmobiling? Was it snowmobiling? No, it was the jamboree. It was the, what's that, you? Joshua. And Joshua was talking about his skating or his hockey jamboree, is that right? Yeah. So that was fun to hear about. So today, we're going to be focusing a little bit more on sentences, but first, we're going to talk about what makes writing easier to read. When someone writes a story or they write sentences, what makes it easier to read? Now, Mrs. Hanson told me that you know how to work with shoulder partners and you know how to make the pyramid when you're ready to share an answer. Okay? So before we start, I want to make sure that everyone's sitting next to a shoulder partner. Okay? Does everybody have a shoulder partner? Pair up with your partner so I can see. Pair up with your partner. Kate, can I have you, just for today, can you go back by William? William, Kate's going to be your partner. Do we ever do triads, Mrs. Hanson? Yes. Yep. So healthy. Jemima, I think healthy would be a great partner for you. Excellent. Thank you. And girls, could you just slide down? Then we would be ready to go. Just one more slide, please. Can I move down just a little bit? Excellent. Okay, I see everybody with their pyramid. Okay, put your hands down. Thank you. So I'll know that you and your partner are ready when you are in your pyramid. Okay? All right. So you're going to share with your shoulder partner, your pyramid partner, what makes writing easier to read. When you read someone's writing, what makes that easier? Share with your partner. All right, 3, 2, 1. I didn't see any pyramids, but I'm going to pull us back together. I heard you talking with your partner, so I heard many of the things that you said, so thank you for turning around so quickly. All right, I want you to compare your thinking to mine. Okay, compare your thinking to mine and see if this is something that you and your pyramid partner talked about. This is something that makes writing easier to read. When your letters are spaced so that you can see each letter, so that there's space. It shouldn't look, the word table, it shouldn't look like this.
That says table.
That says table, but the letters are too close. So we put a little bit of space between each letter.
And make them big.
I heard Levi and his partner sharing something. Levi, do you want to share with us? What makes writing easier to read?
Put little tiny spaces in between the letters.
Yeah, that's what you and your partner were talking about, spaces between the letters. Okay. Last week when I was here, I heard someone say, talking about that word snowmobile and how you stretched it and how you sounded. So if I'm going to write the word snowmobile, I'm going to sound out every letter. So, O,
You're not supposed to.
O, B, A, okay? I'm going to put a letter for every sound that I hear. I'm not just going to write and say snowmobile and put an S, right? Last week you talked about writing a letter for every sound that you hear. That makes writing easier to read. Anything else you want to share with me? Something that makes writing easier to read. Elsa.
You can read it over and see if any words are messy.
Right. Oh, it's really hard when people have messy writing. So if I'm going to write Elsa's name, I want it easy to read. Oh gosh, can Mrs. Lingle do messy writing? I suppose I could, right? Ooh. Yeah. If we write, try to stay on the line, try to stay straight, right? That will help us with our writing. All right. Thank you for helping me with that. So you know some of the things that make writing easier to read. Okay? And that's something that we always keep in mind when we're doing our writing. Today our writing is going to look a little bit different. In just a minute, Mrs. Hanson and I are going to give you your writing paper, but we're just going to give you one piece. Okay? One piece of writing paper, your writing folder, and a black pen. Today we're not going to use crayons and we're not going to use markers. We're just going to use our special black pens to do our writing today. So we're going to have our green folder, one piece of writing paper, and a black pen. And then you're going to put that in your study spot and come back to the carpet, okay? Mrs. Hanson, we're this way, then we're not playing with our name tags, okay? We're just holding our elbows so that I have your attention. Thank you. All right. The last few weeks, you have been talking about stories. Ooh, juicy stories, right? Not scary stories. You've been talking about exciting stories. And today, we are going to write sentences that tell stories. That's our job today, writing sentences that tell stories so that we can use those sentences to make a book if we need to, or if we want to. And I have been thinking a lot about my dog, Lily. In fact, last night, as I was getting ready, Lily heard her name and she came right over by me. And she kind of wanted to come to kindergarten with me today. But the rule is no dogs at school, right? So, I'm going to write about my dog, Lily. And I know that some of you have dogs and cats and things that you have at your house, or maybe fish or things like that. You can share that with me at another time, okay? So I've been thinking about her, and when she went to the spa, last week she went to the spa to get her hair done. And some people would call it the groomer, but I think it's more fun for Lily if we call it the spa. Because she doesn't always like to go and get her hair cut. And so the first thing that I do when I'm going to write a sentence or write a story, I make a picture in my mind. So when I thought about Lily, when I picked her up from the spa, I thought about how excited she was. I thought about her haircut. I thought about the bows that she had in her hair. There's a holiday coming up next Monday, and the holiday is St. Patrick's Day. So her bows had shamrocks on them. They were white with shamrocks. She looked pretty cute, although when we got home, she took them out with her paws. So I'm thinking about that, and that's going to be my picture. On your paper today, this is what your paper looks like, just a big version of that, okay? So I'm going to draw my dog Lillian, the thing she happens to be. So there's her head. They were real big bows. I won't be able to do them on shamrocks, but you get the idea, right? Okay, big bows here in her ears. And her hair was just so, until we got home, of course. Then she likes to rub her head on the carpet. I think that kind of like when we get hair, after a haircut, you get it on your neck and it kind of feels funny. Maybe that's what Lily was feeling like. So she was rubbing her head, but this was before all of that. So I picture her with her bows. There she is sitting. And we take her to the store PetSmart. That's where her spa is at. So I'll draw a picture of PetSmart. Big windows. Maybe you've been to PetSmart before. Really looks almost as big as PetSmart. Maybe it's kind of in the background, huh? Okay. So that's what I'm thinking of. In my mind, before I start my writing, I'm thinking about what do I want to write about today? And I'm thinking of Lily right after I picked her up from getting her hair cut. I want you to think of something that you could write a sentence about today. A sentence that tells a story. Maybe it was something that you did over the weekend. Or something you did this morning. Or maybe you have a pet that you want to write about. So take a minute just to think. Something that you want to write about. There are lots of things, so we're just going to pick one thing. Just like Mrs. Lingle did with her dog. So you're thinking of one thing. When you're ready to share with your shoulder partner, touch your nose. When you think you have something, touch your nose. If your shoulder partner has left the room, maybe you could triple up with someone else so that you have someone to share with. And if you're still not sure, maybe some of your shoulder partners would give you an idea. Maybe they have an idea for you or can help you remember something. Okay, go ahead and share with your shoulder partner the picture that you have in your mind. What are you going to be drawing today?
I gotta draw.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. I heard some things about pets. I heard some things about play dates and tea parties. I wonder who's writing about tea parties, Healthy. Is it going to be you?
Grandma
And Healthy. Okay, so think about your picture. Right now, you are not writing. You are only drawing your picture. We're using our black markers, and you're going to take your black pen, I should say, your black pen, and draw your picture up here. Don't write any sentences, just draw your picture. As many details as you can think of. And when I see that most of you are finished, I'm going to call you back to the carpet, okay? I'll count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You should be back to the carpet, okay? Some of you might still need to add some more details. So right now, the picture that you had in your mind, that you shared with your shoulder partner, you're going to go back to your study spot and draw your picture. Okay, go. So fun to see what artists you are. Will, do you want to finish up that part you're working on? All right, excellent. Thank you. Okay. Forrest, why don't you just sit here for a minute, and then once we are finished with the sentence, we can add more details. We'll have more time, okay? Thanks for understanding that. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to think about those sentences that we're going to add so that our picture makes a story. Use those sentences to make a story. Last week when I was here, you talked about, can you say it with me? Who, where, and what. And Mrs. Hanson put all these lines from what, because that was really important. These are really important things that we're going to have in our sentence today. We want to know the who, the where, and the what. Okay? And so I'm going to look at my picture that I drew of Lily and think of the who, the where, and the what. And sometimes the order might change. But the who am I talking about?
Lily.
Lily, right? I'm talking about Lily. And what happened to Lily?
She got a haircut.
She got a haircut, right? And you remember where she got her haircut?
PetSmart.
She got it at PetSmart. Yeah, she got it at PetSmart. Okay. So, Healthy, can I help you? I'm just going to snap this back, okay? And we'll fix it later. Maybe in the hair shop. Can I have this? We'll just put it right here. Can we play hair? I suppose we shouldn't play. Let's disregard that. We're not going to play hair shop. All right, thank you, Healthy. So, who, Lily, where, PetSmart, and what, she got her hair cut. So now I want to think of the sentence that I'm going to write. My sentence is going to be, Lily went to the spa to get her hair cut. Now that's kind of a long sentence, right? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to count out the words on my fingers, and let's see how many words I have. Okay, are you ready? As good writers, they also match the number of words to see how many they have in their sentence. Ready? So, Lily went to the spa to get her hair cut. think, I would have had to use my toes, right? So Lily went to the spa to get her hair cut. So when I get done with my sentence, how many words am I going to have?
10.
10. All right, here I go. And I'm going to use my lines just as you'll use your lines down below. I know that Lily is the first word in my sentence, and so I'm going to start that with a capital. And it's also a name, so it would have a capital letter. Lee. New word, so I'm going to leave some space. New word, two. This is an easy word for me and you because it's a popcorn word. Lily went to the, another popcorn word, spa. Look at that. New word, to get her hair cut. And I know at the end of the sentence I'm going to put a period because I'm not asking a question. This is a sentence about, so I was supposed to have how many words? 10. Let's count. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have my 10 words in my sentence. Who, Lily, where, spa, and to do what? Get her hair cut. So I have my who, my where, and my what, and my 10 sentences, right? So as writers, you are matching the number of words, thinking about your sentence. This is where we're going to need a lot of concentration, okay? So I want you to think about your picture that you just drew back at your study spot. And I want you to think of a sentence that you could write that goes with that picture. When I asked you, when I stopped in and asked you about it, you told me the who, the what, and the where. Yep, who, where, what, either order, okay? So think about your sentence. Are you thinking? I see Forrest thinking. He's not looking at me, I think he's really thinking about that sentence. Think about that sentence that you're going to write. And just like I did, when I said my sentence, Lily went to the spa to get her hair cut. Go ahead and say your sentence. You can say it out loud, kind of whisper, and see how many words your sentence is going to have. Go ahead and do that. How many words is your sentence going to have? It's your sentence with your shoulder partner. Tell them what your sentence is. Okay, 3, 2, 1. When we go to our study spots, thank you. When we go to our study spots, we are going to match our words to our picture. Thinking about that who, what, where. Many of you share that with your partner. Show me if you can, with your hands, how many words your sentence is going to have. Can you show me? Jemima, you're going to have 9. Okay. Levi, you're going to have 8. Yeah, we talked about that. You're going to have 8. Joshua's 9. Okay. You're going to have 6.
No.
6. Remember we talked about it. What was yours? Healthy went to a tea party.
And a water too.
And a water pool. She added on since we talked.
And
a water pool.
And
She has a lot. You have a lot of things to write, so we'll talk about that together, okay? All right, I'll help you. So, you're going to go back to your study spot and put your sentence underneath, thinking about spacing, capital letters. When you're done, you can add more details to your picture. Go ahead and go back and write your sentence.
So, tell me how you felt about your lesson or your highlights of your lesson.
Well, highlights of the lesson, just, really the kids and their ability to write, but that was previous to me coming. It's evident that they've been using the program and that they enjoy writing already, so that's great. They seemed to be listening and focused on the lesson, on majority of them. And when sharing with their shoulder partner, I think they were able to share the picture that they had in their mind. They were able to share their sentences, although this kind of gets into the next question probably. Their sentences they weren't exact, how they shared them and did their counting.
Why do you think that is?
Well, one person had 25 words, so maybe that was something. But I think that for one thing, that's a lot of tasks. I think the sentence, length, and then trying to count it on their fingers, because they're also working on syllabication, so some of them were doing syllabication, so they were kind of confusing maybe that. but I think that that was harder for them. But there were very few, probably 3 kids that I checked in with that had told me their number ahead of time, and that really was the number of words that they had put in their sentence.
Okay. So you had said your goal was writing sentences,
Mhm.
using that one page.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that your lesson hit that goal?
Using sentences to create a story, yes. However, most of the kids had a who, what, where, so their sentence did tell a story. But there were a few that either as they retold, you could tell that they couldn't read what they had written, so they were kind of adding things, how you can kind of see them adding. So there were a couple of kids that did that, one that was kind of frustrated with the writing. But I would say that a majority of the kids did have a who, what, where, where, in their sentence. Which is what she said the goal was, which is hard because it's really kind of a backup to what they've been doing. I mean, they've been stapling pages together and making books. So it's kind of hard to bring them, to me it almost seems like bringing them back.
Why do you think she does that?
Well,
Or how would that
She
help
did
them
say
if
that
they
in
went
here.
back?
She did state that in here. What the heck was she talking about? I won't be able to find it.
So why do you think that would be though? Going back, so if they've been stapling, they've been writing these stories, stories.
Mm-hmm. And they've been
How is
focusing
going
on a
back?
beginning, middle, and an end. So maybe just, making their sentences more detailed with that who, what, where, who, what, when. The one with 25 words, I think it was Alyssa, maybe. She had a run-on sentence, which I think can happen, where kind of like when you teach second grade and you teach that period, and then they just go and randomly, willy-nilly put in a bunch of periods.
They do have
Right,
somewhere.
because, her sentence ended sooner than that 25th word. But maybe it is about, she didn't say this, but maybe it is about having sentences that have more substance to them. Those details, who, what, where. I don't know.
How was your lesson different than what you planned?
It wasn't,
So what you planned was?
pretty much, yeah. Pretty much. Last night when I was practicing with my kindergartner and my dog, there was another transition I had in there, and I just thought it was too much, like moving back to the carpet. I was gonna have them move back, or go to their story spot, look at their picture, and think about the writing, and then come back and share it. I don't know if that would have been too much or not, but I took it out. That part I took out.
So is there anything you would change from what you did today in class?
If I knew they could handle that, I might have them sitting with their paper on their lap, like with the writing boards like we had talked about earlier, so they could really look at their picture and think about it, because I think that was hard for them, remembering maybe what they drew.
So when they were with their partner on the carpet, sharing that sentence,
Mhm.
you were thinking that was hard for them to remember their picture
Mhm.
back.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if they would have had that there with them, that might have been easier, and then just stay there and do the writing. Because it could have maybe assisted them a little bit more, but I think that probably was hard for them. I know that in the lesson itself, when I started, after I put my sentence about Lily on the front, and I started thinking really about, oh my gosh, to count those words that make up the sentence, and then getting it on their paper, I kind of had just a minute of panic, like, this is gonna be really hard. Just not knowing exactly how much work they've done with that prior, you know?
So was that necessary, that they know how to count the words in their sentence? With your goal being, you know, writing the sentences, having a who, what, where.
Mm-hmm.
Did they have to meet that criteria of
I don't
being able to count it out
Yeah, I don't think that
to be successful?
I don't think that they had to, because they might have added, something that maybe even made the sentence better, you know, and it didn't match with their number, that's possible. But maybe, kind of like when we talked about those letters being connected to, like, snowmobile, just not putting an S, letting them know that when you're sounding out that word, there are many letters. So kind of giving a reference to, there's about 9 words instead of, I have 2 and my sentence, I thought it was 9. You know, so that kind of reference. The 25, like I said, that was kind of hard, but.
But I could see that if you've been doing syllabication,
Right.
how are those?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And not for every word, it just kind of depended on. Someone was doing happy birthday, you know, so.
Birthday is a compound word.
Right,
so.
exactly. And that's not where they're at. We weren't grabbing sentences today.
Taking apart.
Right.
Nouns, phrases, clauses.
Right.
So how would you move forward next with this?
Some of them talked about taking this and adding to it. Some just talked about coloring the picture. I guess next, I think as they look at the sentences in their writing, even if they have a piece of writing that they want to take a look at again, or as they continue in their writing, to think about really stretching those sentences and having those sentences make a story and focus on that who, what, where, might be, you know, just continue that conversation in all the writing that they do, really.
Would you have them continue to count the words?
No, but I might use that as a strategy if I'm conferring with a student, especially if they're saying this really long sentence, but they only have 2 or 3 words written down.
Mm-hmm.
You know, something more manageable, maybe. Or even writing it for them and then counting. I don't know.
Well, how do you think, Laura, you would move, knowing the next lesson, you know, knowing Lucy and teaching it again, what would you, do you see
Well,
going forward?
I liked the thoughtful question of, why do you think Lucy put this here when we've already been writing books? Because it really made me think, this is our brand new second book. And so I think it's nice, kind of like how we talk about spiral and come back and visit. I know 3 boys specifically, that strategy worked like magic for them today. Maybe it didn't work for the girl who wanted to do 25 words, but for those 3 boys who struggle with an idea, I don't know what to write about, and can be kind of, we call them curmudgeons, they not one of them today complained about what they were doing. And I think that it was a new process or a new way for them
to think about doing it that way. Unfortunately, I haven't read ahead. I don't know what's coming next. And Tanya and I had talked last week too. You know, often I'll make one session even into 2 days. With our other schedule, art class, the kids a couple days, there's 4 kids who are never in the room at the same time. Library and learning. Anyway, yeah, I would really like, I think, to further this lesson. They love showing it up on the screen. And I think reinforcing, look at what Levi did. Levi counted his words. And the way he did his was about his watch. And he didn't say, this is my watch, I like my watch, it's red. He said, whose watch is this? It's a mystery. I mean, and I get goosebumps, and I tell them that. Like, I am so excited about your word choice. So I would make a really big deal about that. William, another one, is not generally very happy. Do you know what was important to him today? The words that his sisters teach him on cards. This really happened in his life.
Yeah.
So I would show. Someone in that class was quite upset that you got up and left and she didn't get to share. Thank you.
Yeah.
So she needs to have her moment of sunshine.
And she did very well. I mean, the folder went up in front of her face, but she did pretty darn well
together.
holding it together. Absolutely. Until I left. Thank her for that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But then I
could
can
see.
think of those 2 boys that were behind you. You know, it's kind of hard to get to them in their proximity. The one who you said was crying just generally makes those
He
noises.
wasn't crying.
Yeah. He got to see Mr. Sherman and Peabody, not the movie this weekend, but Dad showed on YouTube. You can find the old clips. And this is what he will write about now for a long time, which is good because it's been Angry Birds Star Wars for 122 days. And so we can get something, I think, out of these 2 new characters, as long as he doesn't get frustrated with Peabody and what we'll work through
And
that.
he was trying to write Peabody.
Did you see that happening?
He was upset because he didn't know how to start that.
Okay.
And so we talked about the sounds. And you can tell that he's just at a different place.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. And he's starting on the right side and moving. He was moving backwards.
Yeah, he started his Peabody and then he was coming back
think
around
because
with it.
He realized that Peabody was so long, but he didn't
He
go all the
started
way
it way
left.
over here.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, he didn't go all the way
That's
left.
new. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you think about certain children, there just happens to be 5 girls that writing comes very easily to them, hence the 25 words.
Right.
I think it was just good for them. This was a really good lesson, I think, to have another person teach, in the fact that it was so different.
Mm-hmm.
And they just followed, like little soldiers, they just followed what you had asked.
Yeah.
Normally, we meet on the carpet. Everybody goes around and says what they want to say. You go to your study spot. Mrs. Hanson turns on the writing. You draw, color, and write. And when the music is done, then you share. I mean, those are the thing. And many of that was just a little hitch off today, and they didn't complain.
Yeah.
So I liked that it was a big step back. Count your words. We do that. I say these are your spaces, so here are your words. You know, use your fingers. But this was just a new way of doing it. And not saying, my dog Lily went to PetSmart and we got bows and she got a haircut, then she got a dog treat, and then we went home. That's how they would like to do it.
Yeah.
Tell a whole story first. But this was 1 page.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think, as I'm sitting here, do you think it would be appropriate now to say tomorrow, after we share the 1 page, who is ready to add more to this page?
Mm-hmm.
I guess I need to see what the next lesson is.
Yeah. she talked, I just had copied enough that says, you know, the conferring and small group work, but support students as they shift from writing labels to writing sentences.
This is very,
Which is-
very far back.
Yeah, which is,
She's big into
Yeah.
labeling the pictures so that your readers know, which is what the ooh stories are for your readers. So she's setting a purpose. And now this lesson was, it kind of is not in a sequential, but maybe because we are so thick into what we're doing in the first book, now we can
right,
kind of
go back a little bit. Yeah.
because we all need review.
Do you think, they're ready for that? Adding more sentences?
Oh, I know they are.
Okay.
I know they are. Even the way that there's so much thought put into this writing program, even the way that paper is designed, it's got a little box up at the top, and they know this was my first page. So it would be fun to see who did number 1 right away in that box. Sometimes they do that even before they write their name, because they know. Then I'm gonna put page 2.
Yes. You can shut it off.
3. Keep your paper, Will, keep your paper. Put it right on, it's a little bit different. Keep this and put your paper on top. Just have a seat, Elsa. We're switching it up. We're making it a little bit different, okay? Excellent. Thank you. All right. Thank you. You're ready. Thanks, Joshua. Thanks, Levi. You can put your hands down. Thank you for being ready. All right. You want some help for us? We can use our helping hands to help for us. Avery, can you use your helping hands? Thank you. That's frustrating when all of our things fall out of our writing folder. While we're waiting, this is what yours should look like. I mean, the green folder and the paper on top, okay? Green folder with the paper on top. Will, if we can have it nice and flat so you can see it. Thank you. Look at these helping hands. Thank you, Aiden. All right. While they finish that up, I know that there were some of you that were still working on your sentences. And I want you to tell me, who can tell me, how many words your sentence had or was supposed to have? Do you remember? Joshua, do you remember what you said? How many? 9. And when you counted it, when you got done, was there 9?
Yes.
Oh, right. Do you want to read it to us?
Me and my dad are friends at home.
Nice. Very nice. And I see some of you are doing that to see how many words you have. Okay. Mia, do you remember how many words you were supposed to have? 7. Did you have 7 when you got done? Okay. Do you want to go ahead? 7. All right. It's coming up. Her birthday's coming up, isn't it? Alyssa, how many words were you going to have? 25. I'll have to use my fingers and my toes. Okay, go ahead. Word. Lots of birthdays and hotel parties happening at this place. Great. I know that you usually share in a kind of a pizza crust.
Yep.
And Mrs. Hanson said that you'll probably share, I think, tomorrow. Is that right, Mrs. Hanson, or another time? I want to thank you for sharing with me today. I want to thank you for sharing this time with me. and thinking about how we take those sentences and turn them into stories saying who, what, and where. Thank you. You did an awesome job today.
I didn't
All
talk.
right. Mrs. Hanson, going to share them tomorrow. Everybody's going to be in the pizza crust, and then you'll be able to talk about your hot pool. Water pool. Thank you. Water pool. All right. Now, can you do this? Take that piece of paper, and you're going to put it into your folder, and you decide which side you're going to put it on. Yep, some of you might want to color at another time. Mrs. Hanson, you have incredible writers and workers. They're incredible workers, truly. Yeah, me too. I think my tongue is growling because I was nervous.
Reset, please. Okay, reset and wait, please. Reset and wait, please.